I want you to imagine, for just a second, that you are tasked with building the most advanced, impregnable bank vault in the history of the world.
Okay. Setting the bar high.
Right. Like, you spare absolutely no expense. We're talking foot-thick titanium doors, biometric scanners, laser grids right out of a spy movie.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. So you finish building it, you lock it up, you step back to admire your masterpiece, and then you realize you accidentally left a neon yellow sticky note with the vault's combination code just like stuck right there on the front door.
Which completely invalidates the titanium doors.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the brilliant complex engineering means literally nothing if the access point is compromised by, a completely mundane human oversight.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason I'm asking you to picture this highly specific, highly embarrassing scenario is because this is essentially what just happened to one of the leading artificial intelligence companies on the planet.
It really is.
Today's deep dive is based on a really eye-opening April 2026 article from datapro.news. It's written by Samuel Williams, and it's titled Inside Anthropic's $14.5 billion security bombshell.
Huge number.
Massive. So our mission today is to look at this massive leak of Anthropic's new Mythos 5 model. We are going to break down exactly what this means for the future of AI security, and we're going to keep the architecture of this thing really simple.
Right, especially if you're trying to, wrap your head around these new multi-agent frameworks, which can get complicated.
Definitely. Okay, let's unpack this, because you can't really understand the absolute monster of an AI model that was kept in this digital cage without first looking at how the cage door was just left wide open.
Yeah, the timeline of that exposure is what really sets the stage here. So on the morning of March 26, 2026, roughly 3,000 of Anthropic's highly sensitive, unpublished internal assets were just sitting out in the open on the public internet.
Wait, so this wasn't a sophisticated hack?
Not at all.
Because when I hear about a top-tier AI company having their core secrets exposed, my mind immediately goes to, like, state-sponsored espionage.
Sure, of course it does.
I'm picturing an elite team of hackers burning through firewalls with advanced, bespoke malware. Are you telling me a multi-billion-dollar tech giant was undone by an unlocked digital filing cabinet?
Yeah, what's fascinating here is exactly that irony. The threat didn't arrive via some highly advanced adversarial AI that outsmarted their perimeter defenses. It was a simple content management misconfiguration.
Wow, just a wrong setting.
Basically, yeah, Anthropic had a data lake. For those who might not know, that's a massive centralized storage repository where tech companies dump raw, unstructured data for machine learning and analytics, and someone simply failed to secure it.
Unbelievable.
And worse than just being open, it was fully indexed and searchable.
Meaning anyone who knew the web address or used the right search parameters could just wander in and browse through their digital dirty laundry.
Exactly. And it was two independent researchers, Alexander Pauls from Cambridge and Roy Paz from Layer X Security, who actually stumbled across this open door first.
So they weren't even looking for it, necessarily.
Right. They just found it, they raised the alarm, and then Fortune magazine broke the story to the wider world. And the contents of this unlocked data lake were, frankly, a goldmine of operational intelligence.
Yeah, because it wasn't just technical scraps, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
They found draft blog posts that hadn't been published yet, highly detailed technical PDFs outlining their future technology stack, internal details about employees, and even private briefing documents created specifically to prep their CEO for upcoming events.
I mean, as embarrassing as a PR crisis over leaked CEO briefings is, that's not why the entire technology industry is suddenly on edge.
No, the real bombshell was buried in those administrative files. It was the architectural blueprint for their biggest secret.
Right.
The files revealed the existence and the underlying mechanics of an unreleased AI model operating under the internal code name Capybara.
Which I have to say is an objectively adorable name for a piece of software that is currently terrifying the tech sector.
It's a great code name, yeah. Officially, its designation is Claude Mythos 5. And to grasp why the industry reacted the way it did, you have to look at where this sits in the hierarchy.
Okay, break that down for us.
So up until this leak, Anthropic's flagship models were all in the Opus tier. Mythos 5 sits in a brand new, fourth tier, entirely above Opus. This isn't just an iterative update. This is a generational leap in what an artificial intelligence is actually capable of executing.
Let's actually deconstruct what Capybara or Mythos 5 is, and let's focus on keeping the explanation of this model simple for someone who might be newer to the nuts and bolts of AI security.
Good idea.
Because the numbers in these leaked documents are staggering. The model supposedly runs on approximately 10 trillion parameters.
Which is massive.
Yeah, with an estimated context window of between 500,000 to 1 million tokens. Jumping to a 10 trillion parameter model with a million token context window isn't just like a bump in specs.
No, it fundamentally changes what you can feed it in a single prompt. I mean, you could drop in an entire software code base alongside a dozen technical manuals, and it holds all of that in active memory at once.
Right, and that sheer capacity enables the real breakthrough, which is its architecture. The leaked documents describe two key internal frameworks.
Yeah, adaptive thinking and agent teams.
Right, and this is the dividing line where we stop talking about AI as a chatbot that just answers questions and we start talking about it as an autonomous entity.
Exactly. Mythos 5 is designed to take a massive, ambiguous goal and break it down into a hierarchical workflow involving multiple subagents.
Let me try an analogy here to see if I'm tracking this agent teams concept correctly, because visualizing these algorithms can get a bit murky.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, so instead of thinking of Mythos 5 as one really smart worker trying to build an entire house by themselves, like doing the plumbing, the framing, the electrical all at once, and inevitably making mistakes, Mythos 5 acts more like a general contractor.
The division of labor is right, but the analogy actually understates the sheer speed and recursion of the system.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, in your analogy, the overall model acts as the general contractor. Let's call it the coordinator agent. The coordinator looks at the blueprint and realizes it needs specialized help to wire the house.
Okay.
Now, a human contractor takes days to hire an electrician. The coordinator agent spawns a specialist agent in milliseconds.
Oh, wow. Instantly.
Yes, and it also instantly spawns a verifier agent to constantly check the electrician's work. So all three of them work together on the construction site.
That's wild.
But here is the critical difference. If the specialist agent wires something wrong, the verifier catches it instantly. The coordinator terminates that specific specialist process, spins up a new one with a slightly adjusted prompt, and tries a new logic path.
Basically firing the bad electrician and hiring a new one on the spot.
Exactly. And it does this thousands of times a minute, completely autonomously, without you, the homeowner, ever having to step in and manage the project.
Which is an incredible mechanism if you're trying to build a house, or in this case, navigate complex software infrastructure.
Right.
But that speed is exactly why this isn't just a fascinating computer science experiment. When you take that highly autonomous, hyperfast AI construction crew, and you ask them to look for software vulnerabilities instead of building houses,
You get a very different result.
yeah, you get a reaction that absolutely panics Wall Street.
Panic is putting it mildly. Within 24 hours of this leak breaking and the multi-agent capabilities of Mythos 5 becoming public knowledge, the cybersecurity sector lost $14.5 billion in market capitalization.
$14.5 billion just wiped out in a single trading day.
Yeah.
And the specific drops tell a really clear story about what the market fears. CrowdStrike's stock fell 5.8%. Palo Alto Networks dropped nearly 6%. But Tenable saw the steepest fall of all, dropping 9.57%. And to understand why a company like Tenable took such a disproportionate hit, we have to look at what Anthropic's older model was already doing behind closed doors.
Right, because the leaked benchmarks show that their previous flagship model, Opus 4.6, had already been heavily evaluated internally.
And what did they find?
During those tests, Opus 4.6 demonstrated the ability to discover more than 500 high-severity zero-day vulnerabilities in production open-source code.
500. Finding 500 critical flaws that no human engineer even knew existed is an unbelievable feat for an older model.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. But the leaked documents suggest that Mythos 5 is significantly more adept at this exact task because of those agent teams we just discussed.
Because it can delegate and verify so fast.
Exactly. The documents literally describe Mythos 5 as being capable of autonomous vulnerability discovery, reasoning-based code analysis, and exploit generation at speeds that outpace conventional human defensive response times.
That's terrifying.
Anthropic's own internal assessment labeled this an unprecedented risk level, which brings us back to Tenable.
Right, the stock drop.
Tenable's core business model relies heavily on vulnerability scanning, manually finding and cataloging the weak points in a network.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Yeah, if an AI can autonomously map a network and find every zero day in milliseconds, a traditional vulnerability scanner starts to look like a horse-drawn carriage at the dawn of the automobile.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Anthropic publicly pushed back after the leak.
They had to.
Right. Their PR team went into overdrive to position Mythos 5 as a defensive-first tool. They basically said, hey, we are doing a governance-led rollout. We are only giving restricted early access to select cybersecurity organizations so they can harden their systems before this technology hits the broader public.
That was the official line, yeah.
So my question is, if this is a defensive tool meant to make our systems safer, why didn't Wall Street buy that logic? I mean, shouldn't a superpowered defensive tool make security companies more valuable, not less?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to look at the dual-use dilemma inherent in all advanced software analysis.
Dual use meaning it can be used for good or bad.
Exactly. Wall Street stripped $14.5 billion out of the sector because they recognize a fundamental truth. The exact same multi-agent workflow, the exact same autonomous reasoning, and the exact same machine speed required to find a hole in a network so you can patch it.
Are the exact same mechanisms a bad actor uses to exploit that hole?
Bingo.
The tool itself is entirely neutral, but the capability is a double-edged sword. Like, a hammer builds the house, but it can just as easily smash the window.
Precisely. What the market is pricing in right now is a reality where traditional security perimeters, the firewalls, the virus scanners, the manual code reviews, are suddenly obsolete.
Because they're too slow.
Right. If an adversarial user gets their hands on a model with the architecture of Mythos 5, it can traverse a network and generate active exploits faster than a human defender can even interpret the alert on their monitor.
Wow.
The old shields simply weren't built to withstand a weapon that thinks, delegates, and adapts autonomously.
And that speed is exactly why this isn't just a headache for Wall Street, it's a massive liability for any data engineer currently listening.
Oh, absolutely.
Because this AI isn't just attacking hardened firewalls, it's crawling through the messy, forgotten plumbing of your daily data pipelines. And we need to talk about that real-world pipeline environment and how this is escalating into a geopolitical pressure cooker.
Yeah, it's getting very serious.
So what does this all mean for the listener? Why should you care about this if you just manage internal data for a mid-sized company?
Well, it means we have to confront the reality of technical debt.
Okay, explain that a bit.
So a data pipeline is the sprawling, interconnected plumbing of an organization. It's how information gets from ingestion points to analytics dashboards. And historically, the plumbing is the least glamorous part of any company.
For sure. Nobody wants to think about the plumbing until it breaks.
It's where technical debt piles up. Companies delay patching a minor internal server because it might break a legacy application. Or they leave old access credentials active for an employee who moved to a different department 3 years ago.
Right. The logging of who does what is inconsistent. The permissions are overly broad because it's just easier than locking things down.
Yes.
And that messy, very human plumbing is an absolute playground for a model like Mythos 5 because earlier we touched on its architecture, but we didn't mention that the leaked files confirm it uses a RAG-enabled architecture.
Which is a crucial detail.
Yeah, and the mechanism of RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, is what makes this so dangerous in a real-world pipeline.
Because of the RAG architecture, Mythos 5 doesn't need to be pre-trained on your specific company's network topology.
Wait, so can it just go in blind?
Basically, yeah. It dynamically reads and retrieves information. It can actively pull your internal Confluence pages, read your API documentation on the fly, and use that real-time context to instruct its sub-agents on exactly how to bypass your specific internal login screens.
So it's like a burglar who breaks into a building they've never seen before, instantly locates the architect's blueprints on a desk, reads them in a fraction of a second, and immediately knows exactly where the blind spots in the security cameras are.
That's a perfect way to put it. It orientates itself within unfamiliar systems rapidly. And then, using those agent teams, it divides and conquers.
Sending out the specialists.
Exactly. It sends a specialist sub-agent down one data pipe to test default passwords on an old server, while the coordinator agent maps the Active Directory. It traverses the gaps left by human technical debt at machine speed.
And this specific capability, this autonomous network traversal and exploit generation, has vaulted AI from a commercial tech product into a major geopolitical issue.
It really has.
The DataPro.news article lays out some geopolitical facts that are, frankly, staggering to see grouped together in one place.
Yeah, the international stakes are massive now.
Like, Earlier this year, the Pentagon officially designated Anthropic a supply chain risk.
Right.
Now, Anthropic aggressively pushed back and actually filed a lawsuit over that designation. But simultaneously, Anthropic has confirmed that they actively blocked a state-sponsored Chinese influence campaign that was utilizing Claude models to try and infiltrate 30 different targets across the globe.
And if being designated a supply chain risk by the Pentagon and fighting off state-sponsored campaigns wasn't enough, the article notes that internal negotiations are reportedly ongoing with what has been described as the Department of War for government and military applications.
It's incredible.
We are watching the threat landscape shift in real time. These models are no longer passive tools waiting for a prompt. They are active, autonomous participants on the global stage.
And while all of this high-stakes global security maneuvering is happening, Anthropic is still fundamentally a business with very real commercial pressures.
Yes, they have investors to answer to.
Right. The leaked documents show they are targeting a public IPO in October 2026. They've just invested $100 million into a Claude partner network, and they are aggressively courting European enterprise clients to show massive revenue growth.
This raises an important question, perhaps the most important question for the industry moving forward.
Which is?
How do you balance the rush to monetize a 10 trillion parameter model with the responsibility of securing it? There is immense pressure from stakeholders to launch Mythos 5 to show Wall Street its incredible capabilities ahead of that 2026 IPO.
Of course, that's how they get a massive valuation.
But that commercial pressure sits in direct, glaring tension with their promise to be a careful governance-first company that prioritizes safety over deployment speed.
So, given that tension, what is the practical takeaway here? What do teams managing these vulnerable data pipelines need to do today before a model like this is commercialized?
They need to treat this leak as the ultimate wake-up call. Do not wait for the official release of Mythos 5 or whatever open-source equivalent inevitably follows it.
Start preparing now.
Exactly. The practical agenda is simple. Get your house in order immediately. Access controls, pipeline credentials, and audit logs need to be locked down right now. You cannot rely on perimeter defense anymore. Your internal plumbing has to be structurally sound.
Right. Clean up the technical debt. Fix the plumbing before the water pressure gets turned up to 1,000,000.
Exactly. And beyond just patching servers, organizations need to start implementing governance gates.
What does that look like in practice?
Well, if we are moving into an era of multi-agent workflows, where AIs are autonomously spawning other AIs to execute complex tasks in milliseconds, you must build in hard stops that require human review before any high-impact action is taken.
Ah, okay.
You cannot let the machine run the whole construction site without the homeowner ever explicitly authorizing the work.
And the grand irony there is that the recommended defense against this highly advanced autonomous AI is intentionally slowing it down to human speed. It's true. We built a machine that thinks and acts in milliseconds, and the only way we can survive it is to force it to wait for a human being to click approve on a dashboard.
Pretty wild to think about.
To briefly recap the incredible journey of this deep dive, we started with a mundane, almost laughable mistake, a simple, misconfigured data lake.
The unlocked filing cabinet.
Right, but that unlocked digital filing cabinet revealed Capybara, a 10 trillion parameter multi-agent AI model that fundamentally redefines autonomous software analysis. It's a technology so capable it instantly wiped $14.5 billion off the cybersecurity market.
Just overnight.
Yeah, forcing the Pentagon, foreign states, and enterprise businesses into a frantic new arms race, all while the company building it rushes toward an IPO.
The overarching lesson here for everyone, from specialized data engineers to everyday users, is that in an age of autonomous self-reasoning AI, the most critical vulnerability usually isn't some complex, futuristic cyber attack.
It's us.
It is basic human oversight. Security hygiene matters more now than it ever has in the history of computing.
Which brings us right back to where we started, that impregnable bank vault.
Oh, right. The sticky note.
Exactly. Anthropic's stated defense plan for Mythos 5 is a governance-led rollout, tightly restricting early access only to select cybersecurity organizations to keep the world safe.
That's the promise.
But I want to leave you with the final thought to mull over. Considering this billion-dollar company couldn't even manage to keep their own CEO briefings and draft blog posts secure in a basic internal data lake.
Yeah.
Can the world truly trust them to flawlessly secure and restrict access to the most powerful autonomous cyber weapon ever created? A vault is only as secure as the person holding the sticky note. Keep that paradox in mind as you navigate the digital plumbing of tomorrow.